This incredible YouTube series has already saved tons of people hours and hours of time. And the best news, we're just getting started. In this episode, we're going to take a 5-minute pause and go deep into creating a folder structure that you can use for your video editing. Super helpful if you use something like Adobe or if you use DaVinci, like any of those editing tools. This will really help you a lot. It's really quick and easy to do. And even if you don't plan on using a large team, there'll be something of value in it for you. Really help in future episodes as we start to really level up our entire YouTube management system. Quick note here. This entire series is all about creating an entirely automated way of managing your YouTube channel. Basically, we want to get to the point where the only time you have to manually do things is when you're doing the live recordings or some of the creative aspects of your editing. That's really powerful, and it means that you can manage your YouTube and get all the statistics, all of the data about it in one place, which is kind of like the nirvana for anyone who's into content creation. And this entire series is all about me trying to create $1 billion solopreneur business. That's right, a unicorn business as a solopreneur. To do that, I've challenged myself to see if I can build an entire organization just using AI agents and automation. And I wanted to start with YouTube. If you reckon that's something that you want to see if I succeed or fail, well, then I challenge you to follow me and to subscribe and to do all of the things that allow you to get this content. The worst thing that could happen is that you figure out how to become a more productive human. And what? There's no downside to that. All right, let's get into the content. We're going to get straight back into this by going to the Notion inline database that we created in the previous episode. We want to start by adding a couple of new statuses to our status page. Now, if you remember, the purpose of this status page is to drive every single one of our automations. So everything that happens from our automation is based on the status update. So the statuses we're going to be adding are created in Notion. Add that one. I'll add another one. Google Drive folders created. Each of these statuses is going to be a trigger for something else, and we'll set the initial status to created in Notion. We also want to add a new column to here, which is going to be our Google Drive URL. This will be the URL of the Google Drive that we create at the end of this workflow. So you're going to see for the first time a workflow execute and come back and update the Notion database, which is pretty awesome. Next, head on over to your N8N automation platform. Sign in. I'll show you what the workflow that I'll be building looks like. Here's our YouTube Drive folder structure. And you can see here we start with a Notion trigger, have an if statement, a switch statement, and away we go and create all of our Google Drive things. There's two places where we update Notion. For most of these folder things, I'm just going to skip through and create whatever folder structure that you like. This is what my team uses. Makes it much easier and also much faster for you to do. Let's create our workflow. What we first want to do is to add in a trigger, and we'll be using the exact same one that we used last time, which is Notion and on page updated in database. Here's the same credentials that we were using earlier. And here we're going to go from this database. Great. We'll just fetch a test event. And it's a little bit squished on there. And we can see the test event is here. So there's our final edit URL. We are good. And we can also see that that status that we just created earlier is set to created in Notion. That's really, really good. First step, success. Always a good start. Now what we want to do is we want to add an if statement here. So we add an if node, quickly resize this window to make it easier for you to see. So let's go back here, execute this previous node to get the data. Fetch our test event. Great, there's our data there. Most important thing is that status created in Notion, which we set up earlier. Now we have an if statement. How this works is that we check for created in Notion, and once it sees that status created in Notion, that triggers the automation to just automatically go ahead and create the folder structure for you. Think about that for a moment. You effectively just need to create a video in there and it will automatically create the folder structure for you. For anyone who's worked with a distributed team with lots of videos to edit, right, that alone is an amazing time saver. But let's fill this out. So here we go, we just look at the status. Great, and if it is equal to created in Notion, we proceed. That is excellent. Now, if you're managing multiple channels, which I'll just demonstrate here, you can also do a switch here. What you can do is you can add a switch and see where I've got this channel. You can set the channel to whatever channel options that you want. How this works is you just create a switch for every single channel that you have. I'm going to create one here. If I wanted to add some more options, I would just add them down here, add routing rules. I could have as many channels as I wanted, all working off the same Notion database, and the automation would work for all of them. If I execute this, and you get the output comes along to here, which is perfect. So I still got my created in Notion option. The thing we're now going to do is we're going to create a parent Google folder. If we go to our Google Drive node, and we just scroll through here and we're looking for the create folder option, which is there. We've already got the authentication from a previous episode. Create folder Google Drive account. We know what folder, what we want. We want to create a folder and we want to create a new folder name. Now you can create it however you want, but I would really recommend that you just use the title that you put in your Notion database. Up to you, you could do something else, but this is by far the easiest one there, and it means that when you see the Google folder, if you ever have to search it manually, you can just compare it to the Notion database, and it's always going to be the same. Where you want to create it is up to you. Now, I'm going to create it in my drive, and the parent folder is going to be the YouTube folder that we used earlier. You can see the YouTube downloads from our first episode, the working YouTube directory from our second episode. I'm going to create this in our working YouTube directory. So now to show you what that looks like, I'm going to go into this now, working YouTube directory, and there is our parent folder. If we execute this step, I'm going to have a brand new folder in there called a second test page. Let's have a look. Look at that, straight away. The first thing we want to do after that, so we're going to go back to our Notion and update that Google Drive URL folder that we put before. If we go back to Notion, we want to update a database page. The database page is going to be this ID up here, it's going to be this ID here that we got. Just move that for you. Change this to ID. You can add a property. Here you can see the Google Drive URL. And the URL we want to update comes from up here, which is this ID. Now you'll probably notice that this is missing a little bit of text. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that text for you, and you'll be able to get this on the blog page that accompanies this YouTube video. So what I did here is I added in an extra string that adds the JSON ID at the end. If you go to the full blog page that accompanies this post, linked in the description, you'll be able to get all of this as well. There's no secrets. Okay. If you have a look at what this gives us, here we have our entire Google Drive URL. Now, why are we doing this? The purpose here is that now we've linked our Notion database and our Google Drive together. From this point on, it becomes much easier to create everything that we want to do. Just going to execute that step now. And when we go back to our Notion, you'll be able to see that the Google Drive URL has now been updated. So let's do that now. This is the page here. If we come along here, we now have a Google Drive URL. From here, you can create whatever internal structure that you want. I'm just going to do one note just to demonstrate what's going to happen. But from here, you could basically design any file structure that works for you. Show you the process, create folder. So it's still going to be in our same parent drive, but the parent folder is actually going to come from what we created earlier with this create folder. So here's our ID here. And that's really cool. So from this point on, you can just create an infinite number of like nested Google Drives, however your team wants to work together. Let's just say I called this test folder. If I execute that step, we come along here, and if I go into here, we now have a test folder. That's pretty awesome. The final thing we want to do after we create all of our folders is to go ahead and update our Notion again. At this point, what we want to do is to move our status forward. So again, everything comes back to that status page, and that's really, really important. And let's do that. Update the database page. We know our database page because it comes from our Notion trigger, so that's an ID. And at the conclusion of this, what we want to do is update our status as Google Drive folders created. Do that. Great. Go back to Notion. Come along here. Look at that. Suddenly, our Notion is starting to manage our YouTube channel. And that's pretty amazing. Already, you're probably saving hours of time when it comes to a YouTube channel, but I promise you, there is so much more to come. You're absolutely going to love it. And in the next episode, we're actually going to start looking at how we can use Notion to start templating several of our workflows to make it even easier for you. And all of this is building to where we can start to automate the entirety of our YouTube management. Now, you might be wondering, what am I trying to achieve with this? Well, I've decided that I want to see if it's possible to build $1 billion entrepreneurial business just using AI and automation. That's right, a unicorn $1 billion company just using AI and automation. And one of my primary ways of communicating people is with YouTube, which is where I got started. But I do so much more when it comes to automation. And I really am looking for people to follow me, like, and subscribe so that I can continue growing what I'm doing. And let's just see if it's possible. I mean, honestly, let's just see where we can take this. All right. Well, I'll see you on the flip side and see you on the next episode.